It's me, Renee. I'm back. So we're slightly different view right at the moment because I've moved my video filming for just today, more or less. Well, I suppose might be another video, but yeah. So yeah, I've been planning on doing it for a while, but I've been trying to film this for most of the morning. Had some technical difficulties, so I'm still a bit peeved of that, but now, as you see here. So yeah, as you see from the title, this is the funniest books I read this year. So uh, I already, sorry, I've already posted the best books of the year and the disappointing books. I wouldn't call all of them worse, but the books that disappointed me. And it's like I want to do a now list because usually, often on booktube channels, you have worst, you have best, or disappointed, and the ones you enjoy the most or best. And I decided, you know what? I've had a very good reading year, and a lot of them were very funny. And like in 2020, it's been an awful year. Like publicly, personally, I suppose depends very much on your life and stuff. But for me personally, it's been a nice year. But publicly, like in the grand scheme, yeah, it's been one of the worst years in history. Yeah, I would think so. In history, probably. So yeah, I think like laughing is something that's so important every day, and also like when things are well, every day. But yeah, just in day to day, but also when things are bad, it's good to look at the humor and have humor in your life. So yeah, this is my list of books that really made me laugh this year. And as usual, I don't really have a specific list, specific order to them. But yeah, let's start. So first we have The Dark Archive by Genevieve Cogman, probably the book that finished last. I finished this last week. And yeah, I just love being back in this world. And I've had it for like a few, well, I suppose 1 or 2 weeks, but yeah, I decided like now I want to read you. And yeah, it was, as most of these books are, very funny, very enjoyable. It also had some very serious moments and high action, but yeah, the one scene, someone was trying to poison someone, and but they weren't really that good at it, and it was just so perfect. It was um it was humorous, comedy perfection, and yeah, definitely check out this whole series, but also this book I would say was definitely a high point in this series. Check it out. Then we have Take a Hint, Dan and Brown by Tally Hibbert. I read this one back in May, April, so it's been a while, and yeah. I mean, this list is from the whole of 2020, and so, like, some of them I read recently, some of them I read many months ago, so, and don't really have the best memory, so some of them, like, I remember this being very funny, but I can't tell you, like, if it was the beginning or this chapter or this character, I'll just, like, say it's funny. But hopefully you'll take my word for it and pick up. And I don't really think, I mean, books that I read earlier this year, I don't really think that uh, me not remembering which character is, but still like having a feeling of it being memorable, I'm thinking that still holds up. Like if you talk about like books you read 5 years ago, yeah, maybe not all of them hold up, but like this year, yeah, they probably are true. And yeah, trust me on those. But yeah, it's against Dan and Brown. It's romance, but it's also a comedy. There's some comedic aspects where Danny, yeah, some comedic situations she gets into. There's some comedic situations that Saf gets into, and yeah, it is definitely funny. Also, heart, full of heart and humor and levity, but also soul, and it's full of soul. Yeah, it's full of soul. I'm gonna say it. And yeah, definitely a book I recommend. I would say, I still say I like Chloe Brown more. I read that one last year. It was more funny, but I read it last year, so can't count. But still, yeah, this book, definitely read it. Then we have a book, even though I read it back in, I think I read it like in January, maybe in March, but it still has like a big, oh, maybe it was back in May. Yeah, anyway, months ago. But still, I still remember it fondly, and I remember it like, sorry, vividly. It is Diary of a Confused Feminist. I suppose slightly because I talked a bit about it now and then lately in videos. But yeah, it's just very, very funny. I still remember how funny it is. It's told, as you might guess, in diary form. So it's like date this, date that. And yeah, it's a tool from it's a YA contemporary. It's a teen who's trying to be more feminist, and she just kind of gets into situations that very funny, relatable, but so funny and comedic. And yeah, definitely check out this book. It's so good. Why not more people haven't read it? I don't know. It's illegal. It should be illegal. Not reading this. And yeah, read it, everyone. Read it. And then we have sorry sorry. My friends over for family over for New Year's, so we're starting and stuff. So that's why I have new filming location, and I suppose that's kind of why the camera's a bit wobbly because I don't really have the usual setup. So yeah. Then we have Spoiler Alert by Olivia Jade. This one is very heartwarming and romantic, but also very funny and endearing. It has some great funny scenes in it, and yeah, it's very relatable. And yeah, definitely one of my favorite books of this year. And yeah, remember it being very funny. I suppose maybe a bit more like heartfelt and funny, but yeah. Me saying like this is a video of funny books, and then saying this isn't that funny. It's more this, on this, more that, or that, or that. Yeah, so typical me, isn't it? Saying first something it's something, and then saying maybe it isn't. But hey, I mean, most books are complex, so yeah. Sorry, give me a moment. Then I got more control of stuff. Okay, so then we have books I'm going to talk about kind of in one breath because they're in the same series, and that is Shah and the Song of Death and The Tree of Wishes. So I read both this year, though this came up last year, this came up this year, but I read them both this year, so they're in this video. Yeah, as with most of these videos, I'm talking about books I read this year. Not necessarily books that came out this year, but books that I read this year. And yeah, this one, some of it takes place underwater and like very much around water. I suppose that's what it says. You can't really. No, you can't really. I mean, I suppose you can guess from cover because it's so blue, but yeah. And it actually, at the end, it has kind of some Moana references, and that's very cool. And yeah, it's just as with most of our Shah books, it's very funny. We'll have you in stitches. Definitely a great series. And then Arisha and the Tree of Wishes. I read this one 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago. Yeah, something very recently. And yeah, it is. It's also very heartwarming and twisty and dramatic, but it's also, as with all of these books, so funny. It'll make you maybe pee your pants from funniness and giggling. Yeah, also, actually, because I read this recently. Okay, so one of the characters, he's not human. He's like a god, demigod, and he lives only in this fantasy world. But he ends up going on quest with this other people who are like who have with this other cast, and the other one they have been raised in the human world. He hasn't. So he's like, "What's a shopping mall and field trip? I don't want to go to a trip in a field." And like, so it's just, I love those fish out of water jokes, and it's just so funny. But it's also, in addition to that, he's also very rich. So it's like, just servants don't give you this and this, and like, oh Rudy. So yeah, I mean, he's a bit arrogant, but he means well. So yeah. Then we have Defy or Defend by Gail Carriger. This one came out this year, so yeah, 2 for 2. So that the ones that didn't come out this year are cheating. It's my video, my channel, but yeah, it's recent read, well, recent release. I have a sorry, review of this one, which I'll link. And yeah, it's a Gail Carriger book. If you read a Gail Carriger book or story and you don't giggle or laugh so much you fall off your chair, you don't have a soul. I know people have different humor, but honestly, if you read one of the books and you don't giggle or laugh once, you have no soul. End of discussion. That's, yeah, end of discussion. Just, yeah, this book is very, very good. Check it out. Yeah, as most videos, I'm gonna, at least with this one, I'm just kind of moving on because it's a long list. Then we have The Dødesbyrå or Constable and Soup by Gareth P. Jones. As you see, it's Norwegian version. I got it from work. I work in a bookstore. I get some cool hugs now and then. Sorry, that's enough of the. It's enough of the bragging. But yeah, so I got this one for work. I read some other Gareth P. Jones books, and I thought this one looked fun. I read it in November, not in October, but so it was a bit late for October read. But yeah, this one is actually quite scary now and then. It's like, my God, this is quite scary for middle grade, but it's also very, very funny, as I suppose with most Gareth P. Jones books, really. And yeah, definitely highly recommend. And also, the translation wasn't really that bad either. So if you're Norwegian, listening to this, you can check out Norwegian as well if you want to. And yeah. And then we have A Hope Divided by Alyssa Cole. So in this one, you have like the humorous. It's not mainly humor or comedic, but it is humorous aspects of it here and there. And some parts of it is like Ewan McCall, which is a love interest and one of the main characters. Well, a love interest and one of the main characters. It's him and Molly. They're both main characters. It's both told from both their point of view. And Ewan McCall has just a great comedic but so true insight into like how crazy the Civil War was and like how crazy that old time was. It's just, you know what? This time I'm actually gonna try to see if I can find the quote to give it to you, because it's just, I mean, it's just amazing. It kind of needs to. It's just so well done. Okay, I think I found it now. Okay, let me. It's not there yet. Give a moment. Yeah. Okay. So they end up like giving messages to each other. It's like they kind of communicate. Have to be a bit incommunicado. So like the preface to this, you kind of need to get the first phase. Well, I suppose I could give you a whole chapter, but that's a bit too much. But yeah, okay, so one of the notes says, what do you find ridiculous about the war? Is it not noble to want to keep a country united, or to fight for freedom of an enslaved people? And then he replies, this was a long one, but pay attention. It's both heartfelt but also quite funny in a way. And yeah, really on the spot. Dear Molly, I believe the war to be ridiculous, because I believe this nation to be ridiculous. The very basis of our nation, the Declaration of Independence, states that it is self-evident that all men are created equal, and yet every aspect of our law, political climate, have stated otherwise by creating a hierarchy between white, colored, native, rich, and poor. Thus, this nation was inherently divided. From its very conception, to pretend otherwise is illogical. To add to this foolishness, the sudden legislators succeed. So word I can really pronounce, secede, on the basis that their rights have been infringed upon, when the only right being disputed is whether to hold other men in bondage for something as inconsequential as the color of their skin. Thus, I argue that our nation is ridiculous, and has always been so. Don't take this to mean that the war isn't worth fighting. It is an honorable fight against the most despicable facets of human nature. I can expound upon this subject for much longer, but I trust you understand me. It's just so well put in words. I mean, it's so true, but it's just like it calls the war ridiculous. It's just like comedic, but also so true. And also, like most comedy comes from truthfully, and yeah, and all in other words, check this book out because it's amazing, amazing. If you haven't read this book, honestly, honestly, what are you doing with yourself? Get this book read. And then we have, sorry, then we have another arc. I just have actually one other arc of this one. Yeah, so I have a few arcs on here. Sorry. Well, I suppose most booktubers have some arc, some from somewhere, but yeah, I have a few also. The quirk with me is that my arcs are Norwegian. But yeah, so it's on pregnant, or in Norwegian, Oppdrag which is the book, I was about to say movie, the book by Jenna Hendricks and Ted Kaplan. It is actually also a movie. It came out this year. Haven't seen it yet. Really want to. But yeah, this is something quite really unique. It's a road trip about someone going to cross states to get an abortion. So it's, I mean the like theme of it, the basis of it, it's abortion. That's quite serious. But like on the way, they meet lots of different funny things and funny people. It's just very hilarious, and yeah, just very funny, very good. I definitely recommend it. Also, often when things are translated, I would say it's not always that they have done that well. And also, like with humor books, it's kind of like how you translate humor. How does that work? This translation was actually quite well. I didn't really feel like, oh my god, Norwegian, this one is weird. No, it was done so well. So yeah, congrats for that. And then up next we have actually a Norwegian book that's in Norwegian. So this is kind of mean to you, most of my viewers, because you won't really get to like enjoy this mention. But I'm gonna mention it anyway. It is Hara by Gulrais Sharif. So this is something quite really the word is quite really unique. It's a new Norwegian diverse own voices book. We don't really have that much of that in Norway. People might think like, oh Norway, you only have tall blonde people with beautiful blue eyes. No, people are from all over in Norway, and well, people look all the different ways. And we also have like actually quite a huge population of Pakistani people that came over from Pakistan in 1970s. We have lots of Somalis come who've moved here. We have people from Vietnam, from Thailand, from all over. It's a big. No, it's not that black and white. It's quite really varied. And also, like of course, in big cities, in small cities, not always, but yeah, we have a varied population really. And yeah, so this is by uh it's by Pakistani Norwegian author. It's his first book, and it's a YA. It's told in. It's not like told in diary. It's more like told like it has like very short chapters, and the narration is kind of like it's kind of like the protagonist is kind of talking to someone. So it's kind of very it's told very orally. So like it can go like they can have like a long sentence and don't have full stop all the time and stuff like that. So I suppose it could be difficult, but then again, it's kind of makes kind of a more of a flow to the rhythm of it. Really, it's kind of quite really fun. Like it gives quite a fun narrative, really. And yeah, so but also being like, what's it about? So it's about this summer when uh Mahmoud, he's 15. He has a brother that's 12, 10. And since his, well, not since, but like his mom works as a cleaning lady, his dad works as a taxi driver. So they don't really have money to go traveling during summer. Actually, most people, well, a lot of people in Norway travel during the summer, well, when it's not a pandemic. But like, I suppose, still there are people who in Norway who can't afford to go traveling, so they stay at home. But actually, this summer, Mahmoud he gets a visit from his uncle from Pakistan. So he shows him around, and he spends time with his friend. He spends time with his brother. So he just comes for the city and stuff. And so it's just kind of, I suppose, a very down to earth book. It's not like about saving the world. It's not like about something ground changing. It's more like about a nice little summer, really. And yeah, it is. I suppose it's kind of like also like explores how it is to be both Pakistani and Norwegian, how it is to live in Norway and to be both those identities. And yeah, it's as of course because it's in its video, very very funny. I think it has gone like quite a lot of chat about here in Norway. I suppose it might be translated to Danish and Swedish. If it'll be translated to English like in a few years, might. I mean, it has a very good quality to it. I don't know. I wouldn't really say it's untranslatable because it's not like. I mean, I think most of the talk you can. I think most of the plot and stuff people can relate to wherever they are in the world and find enjoyable. So yeah, I'm just gonna move on. And then we have An Extraordinary Union, the first book in an Extraordinary Union series. So this is the first book, this is the second book. I read them both this year. And this one, it's as this one, it's quite serious now and then. I would say this is a bit more fun than this one is. This has a few comedic aspects, but does has some. It does have some, and but also like I'm gonna put it in there because you should read it anyway because it's just an amazing read. Even though it's not a laugh your ass off funny all through, but it has some very laughing moments in it. And yeah, check it out. Great read. And then we have The Secret Chapter by Genevieve Cogman. This is the sixth book in the series. The other one is the seventh book. And yeah, most of the books in the series are very funny. So I read both of these this year, so they're both on the list. And yeah, so that's I would say that's it. It's actually not it. It's almost it. I have a few mentions of some books that I read. Sorry, that are either on audiobook or books that I have that I got from the library. So first, yeah. First, I'm just gonna do. Actually, there's actually just one library book. I was so sure I owned it, but I just checked. I don't. So I should definitely buy it because it's a very, very good book. I should also look up the whole name of it. I'm a bit lazy. I suppose I've been a bit more lazy lately because end of the year kind of mood. But yeah, anyway. So to remember small, it's a YA contemporary set in UK by a British author. So that's kind of why it's set in UK. Well, the British authors can write from other places as well, but yeah. Um, it's set around Jemima Small, and it's ironic because her last name is Small, but she's fat. She's a 15-year-old who's quite fat, but she's quite happy with herself and how she is. And yeah, so it's kind of like a year in her life of how she handles being fat and in a world that prefers people being thin and stuff like that. And it's just I read it early in the year, but still remember it being so good. Definitely should buy the book, so own it because it's just so precious and good. And yeah, and then we have Heretics Anonymous. This one was quite eye-catching, eye-opening. It kind of touched on a lot of good themes, but it also, in that way, it was also very funny because, as I said, most humor, most comedy comes from like poking at people being stupid and things being unfair. So yeah. And then we have Newt's Emerald by Garth Nix. This I listened to as an audiobook. It's actually not that long. It's kind of like, I think maybe it's like 9 hours, maybe 5 hours. Anyway, it's not very long. I think the page count is like 210. Yeah, I think probably, yeah, I think it's around 210. So it's quite a short book. Still a very, very good book. You kind of like, you want more because you love the characters, but in the end, it's like kind of like, okay, you kind of think it fits like being short. And honestly, I remember loving it. I listened to it in the beginning of the year. I don't remember what was so fun about it. Like, it was characters or the plot or what. I think there were some fun characters. But anyway, check it out because it's a very good book. Sorry. Um, sorry. And then we have The Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky by Mackenzie Lee. Another short story or novella. It's set in Gentleman's it's set in Montague siblings universe, which I suppose is her universe. Well, she has other books that's probably she's most famous for. And yeah, I would say this one, yeah, it's about like when Percy and Monty. It's set like after their book, but before second book. And yeah, so it's set in that island, and it's set around them wanting to consummate. Well, that sounds a bit weird. They want to get it on. Okay, let's just say that. They want to get lucky. I mean, it's in the name, so yeah. And doing that when there's so many people around, it's not that easy, and the pressure and stuff. And yeah, it's quite fun little read, really. Quite fun. Then we have, yeah, the last one, but not least, definitely not least, it is Sunny Side Up, Sunny Side, sorry, The Sunny Side Up by, I was about to say Harriet Manners, by Holly Smale. Harriet Manners, a protagonist. Starting to be stupid here, starting to be tired. Anyway, so this is a short story in the giggle universe, well, novella set in the giggle universe, and which wherein Harriet she gets to go to Paris Fashion Week, but of course there's misunderstandings and things go wrong all the time during the whole week. I think one highlight here, honestly, is kind of like at least with me, like I think it's one of the few times I've read about that. I kind of want more people who write about that, but yeah. So the thing is she's new in the city. I think she goes to have lunch. She has lunch, good lunch, and then she forgets the time. Like, oh my god, I have to go to the photo shoot. Okay, I'm gonna have to move fast. She goes around like, where is it? Where is it? And then she discovers she's around the place she was supposed to be all along. She goes to where she's supposed to be, and then she's there. So okay, so Harriet, she's a model, teen model. What do models have to do? Stand still for most of the time. Really, they have to stand still for a long time. What happens when just after Harriet discovers like where she's supposed to be during this photo shoot? Of course, she needs to pee very much. Of course, she has to stand still for like an hour, 2 hours. I think it's 2 hours maybe. So that's very torture. I mean, in this novel, you're inside her head, so it's like, oh my god, Harriet, so relatable. At least for me, I've been many times needing to pee so much, but like being in the middle of like in a road trip in the middle of a road, nowhere near. We can't stop. We can't have to hold it. It's like, oh my god! So it's just so relatable, and I love it so much. also other great scenes in it as well. And yeah, yeah, just so good. Definitely, definitely. Highly recommended read. And that, my dear friends, is the best books that made me laugh this year. I hope this books might interest you. Maybe you have some thoughts on them. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you want to comment on books that made you laugh this year. I don't know. And yeah, I'll see you soon. And bye.